Welcome to Friday Night Chats with Garage Geek. I hope everyone had a great week. I came home tonight from school. I ate my dinner and then I went to sleep. I crashed for like over 2 hours. So I'm recording this a little late. As you can see, I'm upstairs again, and this is all my husband's stuff behind me. He loves Gremlins. He loves Wonder Woman, and so these are some of the things that we've gotten over the years. But yeah, I've shown this in a video before, but it was a long time ago. Anyways, I've got a decent amount to talk about, but not a great amount, so this video shouldn't be that long, but we'll see, because I do have the gift of gab. We're going to start off with Dexter. So I finished the new season of Dexter, and I thought it had a satisfying ending. The penultimate episode was the one that was really, really good for me, but the ending was satisfying, and I enjoyed this season a lot. If you're a fan of Dexter, then you'll want to watch it. Jeff's Cave of Books did a response video to another channel where they were talking about the Kolchak series. And I've always heard about this series, and I figured after watching his video, he was talking about a companion book that he has that goes over all the episodes. And I was just intrigued, and I thought, also, Larry's Library left a comment, and I was like, this is something that I should probably know about. So I went ahead, and that same night, I watched the first episode of the series. There's like 20 episodes. And then I found out that there are two made-for-TV movies available. So I went ahead and watched those over 2 days. And I'm going to talk about them a little bit more. But wow, what a fun pair of movies and shows. The movies are critically acclaimed for TV movies. Everyone thought that they were amazing. Dan Curtis, who did Dark Shadows, a show that I really love, he produced the first one and maybe directed the second one. I'm not exactly sure. But Richard Matheson, he wrote the second one, I believe. I don't know if he did the first. He may have. Now, there was scheduled to be a third movie. And instead of doing the third movie, they made a series out of it instead. The series didn't last very long because of some creative differences and budgetary reasons. But I'm going to tell you, when I watched the first episode of the show, and I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. But then I went to the movie, and immediately I could see there was a huge budget difference, especially when, because Kolchak is a reporter. And what the scenes where they're in a reporting office, like in the TV movies, it's like a full-on office, like people bustling, running around, all kinds of noise. But then in the TV show, it's like him and the boss, and then him and one other character. I mean, it's like bare bones. But it doesn't detract from it. It's still a great show. What makes this show is the characters and their interactions. So Kolchak is very kind of persnickety, and he's always arguing with the boss. I love the boss. In fact, hold on, I have a picture of the boss. I don't have anything to set my stuff down, so I'm going to be leaning precariously close to the camera. You don't need to see Gigi all close up like that. All right, so this is the boss, and he was in Psycho, and he's really good as the, I don't know if you call it like the foil, if that's the right term, for Kolchak. But anyways, a little bit more background. Kolchak, the show, got a really big cult following. The movies were some of the highest rated made-for-TV movies ever. And they inspired like the X-Files and all these other kind of shows. So big cult following. And so like I said, that's the boss. And let's see. This was another guy in the second movie. I mean, this is when he was younger, and I found this picture, and I was like, wow, that's a great picture of him. And you know what? Even as an older man, he was still handsome. So, whatever. You don't need to know all that. So, here is the first movie. It was called The Night Stalker. And that's Darren McGavin, and I was like, I know this guy. And so after I looked him up, and he was the father in A Christmas Story, and I was like, oh my God, of course. So, of course, I love the movie The Christmas Story, Christmas Story. But anyways, the first one, they're on the trail of a vampire. It was a lot of fun. And then the second movie was called The Night Strangler, and for some reason I didn't get a picture like this of it. But Dan Curtis did an interview, and he was very proud of the fact that, basically both movies were the same script. They did almost the same thing. They just changed some of the details. And one guy online was like, I don't know why he's proud of that, because I don't like the second movie as much as the first. I'm going to disagree. I actually think the second movie was better. The interaction between the two just heightened it. It went up a notch, and I just thought they were great playing off of each other. But what I did find was that as soon as I saw this scene, I was like, oh my God, that's either the arcade in Cleveland or the Bradbury Building. And so I went up, I checked online, and it's the Bradbury Building, downtown LA. And so I just think that's cool. I don't know if you could see it, but they put fog on the bottom to make it look like an alleyway, but it's actually the inside of a building. And if you don't know, the Bradbury Building is probably the most famous for being used in Blade Runner. But anyways, I have a small clip to show you, so I'm gonna try to show it. Hopefully you can see it. I keep messing that up. So he's exploring, and he finds a trapdoor.
Just when I thought I'd finally struck out, I found it.
And supposedly that's a subterranean sewer system where the killer is hiding out. But that's an aerial shot, maybe from the roof looking in to the Bradbury Building. I just thought that was really, really cool. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with these. I can't wait to keep watching the series. I'll probably watch another episode or two tonight, especially since I had a nap, and I'll be up. But I'm also watching Strange New Worlds on Paramount, which is, I think it's in its third season. I had watched season 1 before, but I'm rewatching it, and I'm really, really enjoying it. So if you would like me to break down the episodes without spoilers, please let me know that. I'd be more than happy to, because I'm not a huge Trek fan, but I certainly love Trek. And if you don't watch Trek, you might want to hear about some of the adventures and things that they go on. I'll just give you one synopsis. In the most recent episode I watched, it was really based on the idea. There's this short story that I read called "The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas," and the short story is so cool. It's about this thriving city, and everybody is prosperous and they're happy. And at the end of the story, you go in, and it's part of the requirement for being happy that you must go into this area of the city, and there is a person there who is strapped in and is suffering, and it's constant, and it's constant torment, but that's what keeps the city alive and flowing. And the short story is called "The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas" are the ones who are not willing to suffer that, and they leave that paradise because they can't stand the idea of how the paradise is brought about. So this episode is pretty much based on that. It's the suffering of a child. It was really well done, but of course I knew the kind of script and idea. Once it started going, I was clued in because I had read that short story before. But it's interesting when sci-fi, oftentimes they will take sci-fi ideas or short story ideas, and they will weave them into the plots. And I didn't dislike the episode for that, even though I knew how it was going to end. It was still a really good idea because there's an overarching idea. The captain of this enterprise is Pike. And as we know, the show starts this way because Captain Pike was the original captain in, what's it called? The Mine Cage, I think, where Spock has to take him because he's his former captain, because he's totally burned and he's in a chair. And he takes him back to this planet where there are beings that let people live telepathically, and so he's not bound there. And his whole reason to break Starfleet law, because that planet is banned, but he's determined to get him there. So this captain is that guy, and he knows, he had a premonition. He had to. I'm like geeking out here. So he went to this planet where he was given premonitions of the future. So he knows that he's going to end up that way. And so the question is, when he's like that, will he go back to that planet knowing what that kid is suffering in order to be able, because they have, I hate this, I'm like jumping all over the place. They have ways to heal anything. And so in order for him to be healed and not live that way and become part of their society, he would have to know that it's all built on the suffering of a child. Anyways, that was a pretty long tangent. Sorry, if you don't like Star Trek, you'll be like, what is he going on about? Hey, I'm a nerd. This is called Garage Geek. Okay, let's continue. So, I want to thank Jeff's Cave of Books for cluing me into these shows and those two movies, and I'm gleefully going to keep watching them. He also put out a new video today about 4 detective mystery vintage paperbacks, and I really enjoyed that show as well. He talks about books, of course, because it's called Jeff's Cave of Books, but the books that he shows are pretty interesting. And recently I bought this one, and we're going to do a read-along, and I think it's going to be next weekend. So I've got to read this this weekend and have it done by next week. But I'm not done. The geek out isn't done. Although I didn't finish this book, it is a book of short stories, and I read the first 2. And wow, are these good. This C.J. Cherry is a good writer. I would say if you haven't read anything by her, you should. So the first one, these are all about cities in the future and how they've adapted. So each story, even though there's a kind of overarching theme, there's each story is separate. Now the first story was so good. It was about these people in the city that are immortal, but in a way that they're reincarnated, and every time they come back as as a child, within a little while they gain all their past memories. And so there is brought into this mix a newborn, which is a soul that is brand new, and he's in the mix with all of these ancients. Pretty much they've been around forever, and he falls in love with one, and I'm not gonna spoil it. So it's a really, really interesting story and a really cool concept, and it was just a really well done story. Now the second one, called The Haunted Tower, London, is about a woman who gets put in to the Tower of London in the future, and she interacts with all the ghosts of the people in history who died on the grounds or in the tower. And of course, if you know your Shakespeare, well, you're supposed to know your history, but if you know your Shakespeare, you're going to know about the two children who went to the tower. So they're the first ghosts to visit her. It's a great story. I can't wait to read the rest of these. This is a great, great book. If you don't know this writer and you're a fan of sci-fi, or you're a fan of good literature, because she's a great writer. Okay, I'm throwing that one over there. Oh gosh. Now I made a big boo-boo. I'm supposed to do my research. Now, Big Nasty did his Geeking Out With, the second show, and all I wrote down was guest, and I was supposed to look his name up. Garage Geek goofs it again. But anyways, he was with a guest, and the guest was into movies, and he had Rich watch 2 movies, and they discussed them, and I thought it was a really fascinating show. And the 2 movies are Dylan Dog and Cemetery Man. Now, they're both honest, like these aren't masterpieces. Cemetery Man is supposedly much better than Dylan Dog, but they're both available, I think, on Tubi and YouTube. And so I'm definitely going to be watching those movies soon, and I'll be reviewing them. Cemetery Man looks pretty interesting. It's kind of this Italian wave of horror, maybe the Giallo, I think it's called. But I'm looking forward to watching that one. It's got Rupert, I forget his name, not Murdoch, right? And then Dylan Dog has Brandon Roche. And that one supposedly is really, really cheesy and bad, but I don't care. I'm still going to watch it. I like that. I spent most of my week listening to a book called The Doomsday Book by Connie Willis. And it won both the Hugo and the Nebula Awards, I believe. So it's 26 hours, and I only got through 13. So about halfway. No, actually, I think I got through 15. And then I had to return to the library, unfortunately, and there was a hold, so I got to wait to get it back. But I'm digging it. Wow, is it good? I do have a complaint. There's a lot of time. So this book is divided. So first of all, there's a short story. I read this short story. It's amazing. It's about a time traveler who, there's a school, and what they do, it's in Oxford. They time travel to study, and they each get assignments. They prepare, and then they go back in time, and then they report. But the short story was amazing because the person goes back to the Blitz of London, and it's about the emotional impact of, treating these things as events, and they're not people. They're just events that you study. But how do you differentiate that idea of, when you actually go back, that these are real people, but you can't help them because you can't set up a paradox. The system that they're in doesn't allow for paradox. And then this book, so I think that came first. And so this is a woman desperately wants to go back to the Middle Ages, but it's not allowed. It's considered a 10, or the highest maximum possibility of danger. She goes back. She trains for like a year or 2, and they finally allow her to go. But at that very moment that she leaves, the operator gets sick, and he goes to a nearby pub where everyone else is. He gives them a cryptic message, and he falls down. And so they don't know if the girl that went back, or the woman who went back, is safe or not. And so the book is bifurcated, because we have chapters about what she's going through, and then we have chapters in modern London, which is actually, Oxford, not London, Oxford, which is actually in 2049. Now, I do have a couple of quibbles, so she's talking about the future, and there's a lot of telephone, and there's video calls, but there's no way to get your messages. So a guy is away from his house, and he needs someone in his house to answer the phone. I was like, that would have been taken care of, right? But there's just a couple of quibbles like that. But that's, failure to see every future event. That's not a big deal. But one major quibble I have is the parts in Oxford really, really slow down. It's too much. And I get the writer was trying to show what Oxford is like. It's, this quaint, supposedly British village type life. And it's not bad writing at all, but it's boring. And I'm really interested in what's going on with how Oxford is going to deal with this. But then they go off on too many little tangents showing what the modern life is like. And yeah, I wish that could have been cut a little bit. But who am I? This book won the Hugo and the Nebula. Anyways, I also started The Tower Treasure, which is the first Hardy Boys. I'm actually going to review that next week, because the Tower, I got an hour into the 4 hours, and then on the way home today, I just felt like listening to music. And so instead of listening to the book, I listened to some music on the way home. All right. Upcoming, I am going to be on Gary B's, the Casual Comic Guys show on Thursday. I actually thought it was last Thursday, like yesterday, and I prepared for it, and then I was like, I found out like, oh, it's next week, so I'm already prepared for it. I did listen to an album this week, and I listened to it repeatedly, and so I'm going to talk about it a little bit. And then, I had a picture of the Tower Treasure. So, there it is. In case you wanted to see that. Oh, I had more pictures of kolchak. So, they take an elevator and they go all the way up. Actually, there's a picture of the elevator. So, the elevator goes up over here. And if you've ever been in the Bradbury building, you know that this is very Art Deco. The elevators are kind of in the outside, and you go up. And it's kind of like modern malls where the elevators are glass and you go up and you can see out. That's kind of like what it is. And then they're walking along. And it's really cool how in the Bradbury building, it looks like you're on the outside when you're actually inside of a building. And like here's just a picture of like the atmospherics in there, like, you know, cobwebs everywhere. And here's another picture of that. And then, like I was saying, yeah, here's another view of them in the Bradbury building. And this is the guy from the Bionic Man. He's the villain. Spoilers. Oh, so here's the Doomsday Book picture of the cover. And I think that's it, except for one. Now, for some reason, the album Taking It to the Streets, and of course, I didn't get a picture of it, so now I'm going to find it on Spotify and show it. If I can find Spotify on my iPad. I don't listen to Spotify on my iPad. I can't find it. Well, anyways, sorry, I don't have the cover of it. But Taking It to the Streets is a 1976 album by the Doobie Brothers, and it's their sixth. Now, it was for some reason it was recommended, and I was like, oh, I've never really listened to this. So I started listening to it. And it's a really strange album because as you're listening to it, you get like a sense of two different albums. And after I researched it, I understood why. So I've got a couple of notes here. This is the first album to feature Michael McDonald on lead vocals, but he didn't do it the entire album. So before this album, they were touring and they were thinking of splitting up because the band leader, Tom Johnson, it came down with stomach ulcers. But one of the group members called in Michael McDonald to fill in. And at the time, he was living in a garage apartment. After the tour, he was actually surprised when they asked him to stay on and help record the new album. And so he pulled out some demos that he had. And, oh, my dog wants to get off the bed. Hold on. Come here, honey. Look, you're disrupting everybody right now. And so he worked on some demos, and of course they became big hits. Now, I think there were either two or three really big hits on this album. I think I took pictures of them if I brought them over. No, I didn't. But Taking It to the Streets was a big one. And what's the song, You Don't Know Me, But I'm Your Brother? Oh, that's just Taking It to the Streets. But there was another big hit on this album. So I'm going to say that as I was listening to this album, the reason that it had two styles is that there were other people writing, the original members and even the band leader. He was still contributing and he was still singing, even though Michael McDonald was also doing his songs and adding. And so you really get a sense of like two different sounds in this album. Like a lot of the songs sound like old Doobie Brothers. One of them sounded to me like an early Hall & Oates album song. But I really enjoyed it. And you definitely hear that yacht rock sound with Michael McDonald. Like this is, I don't know if this is the beginning, but I think he was coming from working with Stealing Dan. And yeah, I mean, it's a really, really interesting album, and whether you like that yacht rock sound or not, I mean, it was definitely influential, and Michael McDonald does have a great voice. Now, as a kid, I remembered that the Doobie Brothers were on What's Happening. I just was like, I did not dream this. And so I looked it up, and yeah, here's the clip. They're all taking a bow. Michael McDonald's all the way in the corner there. And then he's like recording it, and they all point to him. Yeah, he gets caught. But I don't know why, but this was like a full-on concert. I think it was a two-parter, and they played multiple songs, and I was watching one of them. Like, they do the entire song in the episode before he gets caught, and they're actually really, really good. But I remember as a kid being like, oh my god, this is so boring. Hold on, my dog wants to get up again. Hi. Okay, do you see? You've been disruptive. This is Koyo. But I think that's all that I have for today. Yeah. That's it. So, as always, any comments that you have are always greatly appreciated. Please hit the like button. And I'll see you hopefully on Thursday. Oh, tomorrow I'm going to some really weird event. It's called Bingo Loco. My friend, she was like, oh, I got an extra ticket. I was like, okay. And I don't know what this is all about, but it's supposedly really, really loud and like music blaring, and it's like a full-on like a bar club experience, but you do bingo. Like, how does that work out? I don't know, but I'm sure I'll be reporting on that next week. So, like I said, everybody, I want to thank you all for the support.